we are exactly? Can somebody summarize where we are exactly? So we have been talking about the basics of the signals. In fact, I would like to summarize first so that we can get a clear picture of where we are. In fact, college children had a kind of feel are we into the subject. Okay, summary of so far what we have done. So I introduced you to the signals first. Introduce you guys to signals, and then I introduce you continuous time signals and discrete time signals. Okay, a clear notion of what is the difference between continuous time signals and discrete time signals. And gradually we are entering into something called the basic building blocks of signal. Basic building blocks. What are they? They are the step, okay, ramp, okay, sinusoidal, and we have also learnt about something like impulse. They are very powerful. And the key concept that we have learned so far is we can do something called impulse decomposition. Okay, impulse decomposition we can do. And then the same manner we also can do something called sinusoidal decomposition. These two are very key concepts. In fact, we also learned the basic mathematics, okay, basic mathematics related to the subject. It's more like complex numbers you need to know. Okay, some trigonometric ideas, clarity, particularly with respect to unit circle. Okay, how we can visualize the complex number, what is the role of this kind of a circle and the vector, okay, talking about e for j omega n kind of a signal, the rotating kind of a signal. All these we learned. And we also learned something like the Euler identity. Yeah. What is that? E power j omega n, we can write it as cos omega n plus j sine omega n. Okay, j sine. Okay, so for a discrete time frequency, it is n. It is continuous time means a g power omega t cos omega t plus j sine omega t. How do you visualize the signal? It's more like a sinusoidal components. Okay, you can visualize that. So the fifth concept, in fact, we learned is a complex exponential, how it looks like. In the last class, I introduced you to this idea. So C e power a is a very powerful signal. Okay, where a, if it is greater than 0, what happens? Less than 0, what happens? It's what we learned last class. I hope you can recall that. Okay, so something like exponentially growing, what Leitcherman said. Okay? Exponentially growing or exponentially decaying kind of a signal. What is based on a greater than 0, a less than 0. So minus infinity to plus infinity, it goes on like this. Okay, it's a kind of complex exponential signal we're talking about. Okay, so we also have a brief, in fact, I introduced you to a brief idea called a time shifting idea in the last class. Okay. We need to look into this today's class also, time shifting, time scaling. These two are important ideas. Very intuitively you can understand this idea. Okay. So these are all the things we learned. We also have, in fact, I also introduced you an idea called as a shifting property of impulse signals. Using that, in fact, you build any signal x of n, okay, by taking the dot product with delta n minus k, with n varying from minus infinity to plus infinity. So I'll raise a doubt again. In fact, many of you are struggling with this. Yeah, I think I'm hearing some noise. Somebody is trying to talk to me. What is that? Who is that? Nitish? Vamsi Krishna. Nitish, I think.
Yes, sir, we can't able to see the board, sir.
You can't able to see the board? Okay, I'll do one thing. I didn't share the screen, that's why it's a problem.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, good, fine. So we also, in fact, yeah. So this is the idea. In fact, we are trying to bring hot to learn Okay, x of n as a linear combination. The linear combination of impulses. This is something I told you in the last class. Likewise, how can you represent x of n as a linear combination of the other basis signal? What is that? E power j omega n. Remember that. Okay. So these impulses are now going to act like a kind of basis function. I hope you can recall the basis function ideas. Okay. X of n as a linear combination of some C1, a basis vector. Okay, a basis vector. Let us take the basis vector as some E1 and plus C2, E2, C3. This is a kind of linear combination we are looking forward to. Okay. So in order to get, now I will pose you a question. In order to get C1, what is the procedure I told you? Can somebody help me out? What is the procedure in order to get a C1? What is the procedure we follow in order to get C1? Can somebody help me out? What is,
Inner product, sir.
what are all the two signals involved in inner product?
X of n and corresponding impulse.
Corresponding impulse or corresponding basis vector. Okay.
Basis
The
vector.
basis vector for example, x of n t1. If I am going to do this, I take this kind of particular inner product. What is the output I'll get? What is the output I'll get after taking this? From this one, can you tell? If I take a signal x of n and take the inner product with E1, what do I get as output?
Coefficient.
Coefficient? Which one?
C1.
Yeah, C1. Very good. Okay, are you getting the point clearly now? Now, in the same manner, we worked out for the impulses also. How did we work out that idea? This idea is quite powerful. So we have a bag of basis vectors. Okay, a bag of basis vectors. With k being the integer. Okay, integer number. So naturally, what are all the basis vectors inside this bag? There will be delta n. There will be delta n minus 1. There will be delta n minus 2. Delta n plus 1. Delta n plus 2. So this is a bag I am talking about. From this bag, I am going to choose my what? Basis vector. I have a bag. Now tell me, if it is going like this from minus infinity to plus infinity, all the values inside. Okay. So this is my basis vector. So when I go to choose this vector, what happens? This is a function, in fact, it's more like a basis vector. Yeah, basis vector. If you go to choose, what happens? I'm going to get my x of n. For example, I have a signal 3, 2, 1. So I can represent this as 3 times delta n plus 2 times delta n minus 1 plus 1 time delta n minus 1. So this idea I've been trying to convey to you very clearly. And I said that these coefficients, for this case, it's quite obvious. Okay, for impulses, it will be quite obvious. Okay, so you can collect these values 3 to 1 by looking at the curve itself, looking at the graph itself. This is my x of n. So this is more like 3 times of the signal delta n. Delta n signal, how it looks like? Delta n. The signal will be existing only for n equal to 0. That is delta n. And delta n minus 1, I am doing a right shift. Okay, it's a delayed signal. And I'm going to get this delta n minus 1. The third one is going to be delta n minus 2. It's going to be at n equal to 2. This is going to be at n equal to 1. Okay, n equal to 2. And the corresponding coefficients, they are the scaled. Okay, do you understand? So any signal is a key idea of today's class. X of any discrete time signal, can be represented represented can be represented as a linear combination of, okay, a combination of what? Time shifted. Which one is time shifted? Can you tell me? Which signal is time shifted?
Delta n plus
Yeah,
1 n minus 1.
delta. Impulse signal, they are the time shifted. As a linear combination of time shifted and scaled. Why it is called scaled? Primarily because this delta n, the first one, is going to have an amplitude of 3 now. The second one is going to have an amplitude of 2 now. This amplitude comes from what? This particular x of it. Now, the idea is how I am going to get the 3, 2, 1. For impulses, it will be quite obvious. By looking at the graph, you can tell. But for other basis vectors like e power j, omega n and all, it will not be quite obvious. You need to do something called the operation called dot product. For our case, let us take for impulses, it's quite obvious, even though it's quite obvious, 3, 2, 1. Or I'm going to do something called the inner product. What is that? X of n. I'm going to take the complete signal x of n, dot product with delta k n minus k, k, with n running from minus infinity to plus infinity with a particular value of k. For a particular value of k, I'm looking for, then I have to plug in that value here, then take this summation. The signal value is now going to exist. Okay, for our case, the signal is existing from minus infinity to plus infinity, and it is going to be 0, 0, 0 everywhere. At 0, it's going to be 3, 2, 1. Okay, this is the 0th value, inequality. This signal I'm now going to multiply with a particular impulse. Okay, for if I substitute k equal to 0, what do I get? The value will be 1 at n equal to 0. But the rest of the values are 0. I'm going to take the product of this. That's what this one tells. And I'm going to add all those values. Infinity into infinity, 0. That is infinity into, you should not talk with infinity. Just near to infinity normally you'll be talking. Okay. So naturally every value is 0 except for this value. 3 into 1 is the only product I'll be getting. Okay. So naturally C of 0 is going to be 0. So that's the value I have obtained. See here, that's the coefficient. So I'm talking about a multiplication. A dot product means you write the vector in terms of a column and multiply element by element and then add everything. That's the inner product. Okay, when you are doing something like, for example, I have elements like x1, x2, x3, three-dimensional thing, and I have y1, y2, y3. How do I multiply? x1, y1 plus x2, y2 plus x3, y2. Is it right? So this is going to be 1 cross 3 and this is going to be 3 cross 1. Row vector, column vector. So I'll be getting this one number out. Okay, that's the operation. This operation I'm writing it like, okay, with n varying from 1 to 3, x and y. We can write like this. Okay. Can you substitute this? Can you see it? x1, y1, first one. If I plug in x1, y1, then I have to add plus x2, y2 plus x3. So this is the summation I'm talking about. That's what I'm doing it here. Okay. So this is a kind of summation. This instead of yn, the basis vector, I'm going to have delta n minus k. But that's going to have value only at a particular instant because the k is selected. I'm looking for only one k, so the k is selected for one particular. So this is the idea I'm talking about in the last class. Anybody having difficulty in understanding it, please raise your doubt again. In fact, I'm spending some time here primarily because this idea is a key concept in the entire DSP control systems and signal system subject. It's a key idea. So did you understand the summation clearly? What does the summation tells? Can somebody tell? Summation with the inner product. You understand this? Can I proceed? Anybody having difficulty? Please raise your doubt now. You understand how I am writing this row vector and column vector? This is 1 cross 3 dimension, 3 cross 1, and then if I multiply, I'm doing inner product. So I'll be getting elements like this. This is nothing but one single number I'm going to get. Always inner product ends in one single number. So the same thing happens here. When I do this inner product for C0, I'm getting one single number. Okay, so that's the number, the coefficient. This number I'm getting. These numbers I have to compute it. Now, if we proceed now to e power j omega n, okay, as your new basis, what are they? They are nothing but you already know e power j omega theta is equal to cos theta plus j sin theta. So naturally, you are now thinking in terms of a complex plane where there is a real value and an imaginary value. So naturally, any value of particular omega for I'm going to choose, then it's going to look like a vector. Okay, this is my e power j omega 1n. Okay, so it's more like a vector. So naturally, when I'm going to plug in those values of omega n, here I'm going to get a number here, a complex number. So as I told you earlier, I'm going to plug in some values, cos of that particular value. Okay, x-axis component is z, y component is z. I can plug in that value. I will be getting a set of numbers for a particular a number. I'll be getting. Okay. Existing when I'm going to work out. Okay, this n varying between n equal to minus infinity to plus infinity x of n. Okay, when I'm going to do it for e power j omega 1n, for example, and then that particular frequency, whatever is getting inner product, I'm going to collect it as x of w. Okay, that's the coefficient I'll be collecting. Okay, so that's what I'm talking about. So the last class I mentioned to you. But normally when this is a complex number, we'll be doing something called conjugate. Conjugate of it you'll be taking e power minus j omega n, you multiply and you collect it t e power. But can you tell me when I'm going to finally collect my x of n back, how do I write that? From this is called frequency domain, I said, what is the equation for x of n? Can somebody help me out? What is the first value? When I'm going to plug in some values here, okay, so for example, c omega w1, what I'll be multiplying with? What I'll be multiplying it with? Anybody from the class?
J omega, sir.
E power j,
E power j omega.
j omega or omega 1n?
Omega 1, sir.
Okay, first frequency. Then omega 2 e power j omega 2. It goes on. You understand? So whatever components you have, all those components will be there. Okay. So then this can be written as what? Again, you can easily, clearly, you can visualize. But here, these are all finer details. Okay. So the frequency component is in the continuous domain. Okay. So I'm going to integrate continuously all this. So that's why I'm using this term. Okay. This c omega 2, they call it as x e power j omega. Okay, this is a coefficient term. So all these coefficients, I'm going to integrate between minus infinity to plus infinity e power j omega t d omega. Sorry. In terms of omega, I'm going to integrate. Okay, in terms of omega, I'm going to integrate. So n only time. Okay, so d omega e power j omega is what the signals are. Okay, n is not there. D omega. So this is going to be my x of it. So this I am calling it as inverse discrete time Fourier transform. And this one, this is summation, I am calling it as discrete time Fourier transform. So look at these signals carefully. Think about this signal, how they look like, what are all the components present inside, how can I get those values, all those you try to think. At the same time, if I am going to work out for the continuous domain x of t, the same idea, instead of this kind of summation, I'll be getting an integration. Minus infinity to plus infinity, x of t, e power, what is this signal? This is not x of t, this is going to be x of j omega, or here this is e power j omega, na, that is discrete time form. This is continuous time form, j omega. What is the value I have to write here for continuous time? What are all the basis vectors for continuous time? In order to take the inner product, I'll be doing it with respect to some basis vectors. Am I right? The basis vectors are e power j omega small t. These are all the vectors. Okay, this is going to be e power minus j omega t dt for one particular frequency, if I'm going to do, I'll be getting one particular x of j omega. That is more like some CWN, W1 I'll be getting. Okay, CW2, all those values I have to collect now, the same manner. Okay, so if I'm going to do it with n varying between minus and plus infinity, I'll be collecting that data. Here also the same idea. So I have to integrate. When I'm going to integrate, I'll be collecting all the values. Okay, so you can keep e power minus j omega. One by one, if I do, I'll be doing this. Okay, you understand what I'm saying? So for all the values, if I want to do for one frequency, it is omega. So if I want to do it again for x of t, what do I do? Can somebody help me out? What is the value I'll be collecting? Here, what do I need to write? First integration. What I integrate, the first term I'm integrating with respect to time. The second term I'll be integrating with respect to omega. Okay, x of j omega e power j omega t. Okay, d omega minus infinity plus infinity for all the frequencies. If I do it, I'll come back again to the time domain. This is the frequency domain. So this is a frequency domain expression. From frequency domain, I'll move on to x of j omega. I take x of j omega again, I'll plug in here, multiply the basis vector for each component, then I'll be collecting back my x of t. Okay, do you understand the point what I'm trying to do? So this is the kind of idea we are talking about. Okay, for omega varying, what do you call this? For each value, omega is varying, so I'll be collecting the final expression. Okay, so but if I slightly modify this and I include the term e power alpha t along with my x of t. If I multiply my signal with this, I'll be getting Laplace. And if I multiply my e power j omega n, this x of n multiplied with some alpha minus n, and then do it the same operation, I'll be getting Z transformation. It's a concept we discussed the last class. So now let us proceed and try to understand what is called as the impulse, not impulse, complex exponentials. So the complex exponentials we already discussed. Okay, e power 2t, 3t, 4t, all this you can write. So for continuous time domain, when alpha is less than 0, you are going to get an exponentially decaying waveform like this. Okay, is it clear? Then the sinusoidal waveforms, e power j omega t. The complex power, it is going to be exponential of some complex number, pure imaginary part. I'm going to have. We're going to have a pure imaginary part. See, normally you'll be writing a plus j omega. This is a real part, this is imaginary part. I'm going to have only pure imaginary part. When I'm going to have pure imaginary part, you know what is this signal. Okay, you know the signal is rotating vector. Okay, it's going to be cos omega t plus j sin omega t. Pure signal is what I will correct. Now, these are all the two other factors. When alpha is greater than 0, I am multiplying the pure imaginary signal with an exponentially decaying signal, exponentially increasing signal. When I'm multiplying, when alpha is less than 0, I multiply it with an exponentially decaying signal. Okay, I'll be getting these kind of waveforms. Now, when both are complex, when the C is complex, okay, for example, I said C e power alpha t. When this C constant, if this is real, it's not an issue. But it's going to be complex again. What happens? Can you imagine? If this is going to be complex, and this is also going to be complex, what will happen? C is complex means what? It is having a magnitude. Complex, any complex number, you know, it is having its magnitude, a plus jb. What's the magnitude? A square plus b square. That's the magnitude. So it's having a magnitude. If the C is complex, then it is also having an angle. Okay, therefore it is e power j theta. So this is going to get multiplied with e power a plus some other j theta t. So this is going to also have a kind of form which is more like cos. This is more like, let us take omega. Okay, some a plus jb form. So you are going to have, this is more like e power at, e power j theta t. This e power j theta t again it's going to be cos theta t plus j sin theta. You understand that? Now this e power at is again is going to have a real part. It's going to have a magnitude as well as magnitude part is going to have no angle. It's a real part. A is real. Therefore, that value is going to get multiplied with this magnitude. Okay, you understand what I'm saying? So that's what we are saying like this. this signal. Can you understand this signal clearly? Anybody? Can you express? Anybody can try to explain this signal to words? What is this signal? Everybody understood this? If you are not understood, please say I don't understand, sir. I'll repeat again. I give you that freedom, man. You guys can talk. Sir, I don't understand this signal. Can you repeat again? Do you understand this, everybody?
Sir, repeat again, sir. Once.
Yeah, that's what I'm. See, this good man. See, only this is your class. Okay, I'm trying to explain everything to you only. If you don't understand, I have to repeat. Okay, then only the learning will happen. So I know that there is some kind of difficulty in understanding this. Students normally they struggle because I also have undergone undergraduate studies. Okay, I know the difficulty of it. So naturally I will struggle with some part. So naturally I know that you also will suffer on that part. So I'll ask again. Okay. So the idea what I'm saying is there is a constant multiplied by an exponential signal e power 8. I said in the last class, C can be equal to 1. This constant can be some 1 or some any real value. Okay. If it is 1, then what happens? I said e power 80 is the signal I'll be getting. So this A can be, I said there are two options for A. The A can take either real or complex one. If it is real, the solutions are very clear. A can be greater than 0, A less than 0. A is greater than 0, you are going to get an exponential increasing signal. Sorry, an exponential increasing. If it is less than 0, it's going to get exponential decrease. Up to this, everybody with me? Is it clear? Everybody with me up to till this point? Till what I said, this everybody understood?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, now if I put 2 e power 80, what happens? Can somebody help me out? What will happen if I put 2 e power 80? This is c e power 80. Okay. A can be greater than 0, A can be less than 0. When A and C both are real. And when C is equal to 1 and A is real, and A can take two options. We have A less than 0, A greater than 0. You have curve like this. When A is greater than 0, A is less than 0. Where is the cutting point? What is this intersection point for this case? When C is equal to 1, it's going to be 1. You understand? That's the kind of amplitude I'm talking about. Now, when C is going to take a value 2, for example, then the entire curve is going to get shifted by 2. That's all. That is this idea. When A and C both are real, C and A are real. Then the second part I said, C is real, okay, and A can be purely imaginary. It's a second I said. So in that case, how the signal look like? C e power j omega t. This is the kind of signal we are talking about that you know very well. This is nothing but a signal is going to have a pure imaginary. Pure imaginary. It can be cos or cosine. Cosine waveforms is what you see. So now tell me what is the amplitude of this waveform? Can somebody help me out? The amplitude is C. K plus C minus C goes up. Okay. So the amplitude is the amplitude of this waveform. Now tell me if C is real and A is real plus imaginary part. That's what we learned. C can be like this. C is real. Then e power j, instead of putting that, I put A plus some j omega t. It's a complex one. This A is complex. But complex, I'm writing it like this. Maybe I'll put B plus j omega. Yeah, B plus j omega. So what will be the signal? This is going to have two components. E power bt, I'm going to have. Then e power j omega t, I'm going to have. You understand now? So there is a C still there. Okay, this is a real number. It can be 1, 2, 3, anything. So this e power bt, what is the kind of signal? That depends on what. B can be, this is real, B is now real. B can be greater than 0, B can be less than 0. Two options are there. This is pure sinusoid. Now what I will be having when b is greater than 0, I will be getting. Can you imagine that signal in your mind? Can you imagine that signal in your mind now? When b is greater than 0, what is the signal I am expecting? Can somebody tell me how that signal look like? When b is greater than 0, the signal is more like this. And okay, like when it cuts at this point now, this point the value of the signal, the amplitude is going to be the C amplitude. The entire thing now, the amplitude at t equal to 0, normally this amplitude now you will be getting that C is getting multiplied. The amplitude of this sine wave is going to have C. Okay, we need not cut the point like here like this. So this is the C amplitude going to get multiplied with e power bt, e power j. This e power bt is giving you the this envelope, and this e power j omega t is pure sinusoid, and the C is fixing the amplitude. Okay. Is all right? Getting the point clearly? What I'm saying. Now the third point is it is going to be decreasing amplitude. C e power bt e power j omega t, where b can be less than 0, and therefore it's going to have a decreasing amplitude. You understand the C point here? Or do you understand the C? Where the C will sit? Can somebody tell me? Where is the C will be? E power bt is an exponentially increasing, I said. When I'm going to multiply it with the C, what happens? This intercept point, okay? This intercept is C. Y-axis intercept at t equal to 0. This exponential will pass through the time t equal to 0, pass through this y-intercept at the point C, that side. You understand? But the envelope is going to have sinusoidal component. That's important. Now C into e power bt will be less than 0. You can represent the waveform as exponentially decay. And this point is C, and this is the kind of signal I'm talking about, exponentially decay, pure sinusoid. Everybody understood these ideas? All these things, any doubt anywhere? This is called complex exponential signal, very powerful, important signals, heavily employed in control systems. Okay. Yeah, now we'll go. Yeah, now look at this. So this is the kind of thing I said. Now you can see, yeah, the last component today I didn't mention. The last component. The last one is what is the case? Can you imagine that last case? If this is real so far. Now this can also be complex. That's what I'm saying. The C can be complex. If C can be complex, then C is going to have a magnitude part and an angle part. I'm going to take this, I'm going to multiply it with what? E power bt, e power j. Understand what I'm saying? Then can you see it? What will happen here? It's going to be C e power bt dot e power j omega t. Take the part. Imaginary part you add it to it. Okay. So this is the kind of signal I'm talking about. When C is going to be complex. If C is complex, and this is also complex. This e power that what is the term I said? E power at. Yeah, this e power C is complex, and A is also complex. That's the scenario I'm talking about. If you look at that, it's going to be. So what is this signal? It's going to be magnitude e power bt. Okay. Then this is going to be pure sinusoidal, cos omega t plus j sin omega t plus theta. So how that signal will look like? That depends on what? The B value. The B is B is greater than 0, then going to be like this. Okay. And when B is less than 0, we have signal. this. Okay, so that's the kind of waveforms we are talking about. So now can you look at this expression? No. Yeah, look at this. This is the one I'm talking about. Both are complex. Okay, e for 80, I put alpha t, a sin omega t. E power j omega t is e power j omega t plus theta. That's nothing but cos omega naught t, okay, plus j sin omega naught t. Okay, that's the final expression I've done. What is this condition? This is both for C and alpha or what? Complex. That's the case I'm talking about. Now, the same manner, think of a discrete waveform like this. Instead of this alpha is nothing but e power some beta, and I have time t is continuous, but here it is discrete n. Okay, so now we have 4 cases. Can you imagine the signals when alpha is greater than 1? What will happen to this waveform? Let us imagine C is equal to 1. Alpha is greater than 1. Can somebody help me out? What is the value will be when greater than alpha is greater than 1? How do you express it? For example, I take alpha equal to 2. What will happen to the signal? 2 power n equal to 0, 2 power 0, n equal to 1, 2 power 1, n equal to 2, 2 power 2. You understand what will happen here? Okay, it's a sequence exponentially increasing. Okay, so that's the kind of waveform I'm talking about. So I'm talking about something like C alpha of n, alpha equal to E beta. So it's going to be C e power beta n is what I'm talking about. This is the kind of waveform I'm talking about, a discrete domain. So the first case what we have taken is this beta, okay, sorry, we'll take it as alpha. Okay, this alpha, the sequence, if it is greater than 1, that means what? E power beta is a number, okay, it's greater than. Anything raised to beta is real, okay, beta is real. So anything raised to a power, E power is going to be more like 2.317. E value is this, raised to some real number, some 2 like that. So if this value is greater than 1, that's the meaning of that. Then naturally what happens? This series is going to explode. So I'm going to have the first value like this, second value like this, third value like this. Exponentially, it's going to increase. That's the waveform we are talking about here for the discrete waveforms. These are all the samples I'll give you. Okay. The same manner, what is the next idea? When this alpha is going to be less than 1, what will happen? My series will go down. Okay, I'm going to get to the samples. Why? When alpha is less than 1, what happens? Between less than 1, but it is lying between 0 to 1. Okay, if it is lying between 0 to 1, what happens? To take any value, for example, I can show you the waveform. So this is the second case I'm talking about. The second case, when it is alpha is between 0 to 1. Can you imagine what will happen? Everybody? Yeah. Can you imagine what will happen? E power beta n, C alpha n, alpha equal to E beta. This alpha is now going to lie between 0 to 1. Okay. So if this is the case, let us imagine take some value 2.2, 2.3, 0.4 like that. You just take the value, take the first, take the square root. Okay, take the what you call 2.21 square cube. If you keep doing that, what will happen? The signal value is going to go down. Okay, the more and more the decimal fraction numbers you are going to, that's lying between 0 to 1, you are going to square it or going to take the higher values. These values are going to come down gradually. Okay, so that's the idea. It's an exponentially decaying waveform is what you are going to get for the discrete case. Okay, now look at the negative numbers. This is the third case. Okay, look at the third case. So if I'm going to have something like this, third case, between 0 to minus, can you imagine that series, how it looks like? You take any value between 0 to less than -1, minus 0.1. Okay, it's going to definitely be a decreasing one. Okay, minus 0.1 fraction number, square it, again take cube of it. But the key point, what you are noticing, the signs will change. Okay, you can see initially there is no positive sign, decreasing. The second one, it's what? It is decreasing, but the sign is negative. You understand? So naturally, positive and negative signs is what you are going to get in the corresponding waveform. Look at this. Yeah, we're going to have something like this. Okay, I'm going to have this kind of a waveform, is what I'm talking about. But I'm going to have sample like this. Here another side, positive, negative, positive, negative. This is the kind of waveform I'm talking about for values of alpha lying between 0 to. It's a fraction, sorry, not this one. -1 greater than 3, -1, between 0 to -1. I'm talking about this series. But this one is more like this. Okay, this is like you get alternating values, alternating positive and negative signs. Are you getting the point clearly? Anybody having difficulty in understanding this? Can I repeat this one? This signal is all right. You take any value between -1, okay, less than 0. It's a fraction definitely. As it is a fraction of 0.2, 0.3, small values are going to get. Naturally, if it's going to square or cube it, it's going to decrease only. But the key point is it is in the minus domain. Okay, negative real line. Okay, it is 0, it is negative real. I'm going to choose values in between. So this is more like an alternating values I'm going to get based on the sequence. The sequence is what? For example, if I'm going to choose 0.1, it's going to be first take the value minus 0.1, sorry, minus 0.1, 1, minus 0.1 square, minus 0.1 cube. You understand? So the sign is going to change, but it's going to be decaying. What is the next case then? It's going to be -1. Alpha is greater than -1. So you understand that. So that's the last case. Look at this. This is what I'm telling. That is -1 is greater than alpha. So naturally, for any alpha in this line, start from this, go up to -infinity. Any alpha, choose from this domain. Between 0 to -1 alpha, if I'm going to choose, I'm going to have alternating samples, but with decaying exponential. But just after -1 until -infinity. Okay, minus this alpha is less than -1. This is the region I'm talking about. So in this region, can you expect what kind of response you're going to get? It's going to be an exponentially increasing, but alternating. Okay, positive, negative, positive. It's going to be exponentially increasing. These are all the 4 key cases of what? Discrete complex exponential signal. Okay, and here also you can think of this beta being purely imaginary like this. Then what you can expect? You can expect that this e power j theta, okay, is going to be a purely sinusoidal waveform. Okay, and I'm going to have the samples. Okay, this is the kind of sample we are talking about. And the same manner, the C can be complex, and this alpha n can also be complex. Beta, sorry, the beta can also be complex. E power beta n is what I'm telling. Where alpha is equal to e power beta. Can also be complex. Then naturally I'm going to get C alpha power n cos omega n theta, C alpha n j sin omega n. Both are complex. Okay, the magnitudes are getting multiplied. So think about these waveforms carefully. Okay, both real as well as complex. If you understand the continuous time waveform clearly, then you can apply it for the corresponding discrete time domain also. The same manner you have to imagine. But only thing you have to understand here is the discrete time conditions are important. You can get values between 0 to 1. Okay, between 0 to 1, the real line, and then imaginary parts, so that you can get sequences alternatively. Okay, that idea is important. Samples. So, any doubt in this? Okay. We discussed this. Complex expressions, Laplace. Also had, we also had discussed about this particular signals. I made one small mistake in that class. If you look at this case, I said x of t minus 3 by 2, na? So that this is all right. But this one is 1. Okay, this signal is 1. So this is 1 plus 3 by 2, that's 5 by 2. Okay, 2 plus 3, 5. This signal is getting shifted. Okay, that's one small mistake I made. Correct it. Okay. So then we also had a signal something like this. X of t is equal to 1.5 xt minus 1. Can you tell me what we are doing here? Are we doing time shifting? Can somebody help me out? Are we doing time shifting operation here?
Shifting the base, sir.
This is more like amplitude shifting. Very important idea. Amplitude shifting and amplitude scaling, both are here. Don't worry about time now. Think in terms of the amplitude, because when I'm going to do something like x of t minus 1, this is time shift. Keep that in mind. Within bracket, this is independent variable t is getting shifted by minus 1. But here what happened, this is the whole signal I'm talking about that's getting shifted by minus 1. So there is a difference between introducing this one inside the bracket here t minus and outside this bracket. So understand this very clearly. Now when I put 1.5 to the amplitude part, initially the amplitude is 1 like this. Okay. Now this 1.5 means what? The amplitude is now going to be 1.5. Okay, you understand? This is the amplitude shift, amplitude scaling. Sorry, amplitude scale. I'm scaling the amplitude, and then what I'm doing, I'm shifting the signal in the y-axis, not in the x-axis. See here, I've shifted it by minus 1. From 1.5 it has come to 0.5, and 1.5 it has gone to what? Minus 2.5. You understand? This is called shifting the base. Somebody has rightly said. DC shift, normally in electrical circuits you'll be learning about DC shift, where you take the entire signal and you shift it to the another level. Okay, so this is called DC shift. So don't get confused with the time shift and the amplitude shift. The amplitude shift is different and the amplitude scaling is different. So when I want to see, if I'll pose you a question now. I said amplitude scaling. If I want to scale the time, what do I need to do then? By 1.5 I want. What will be the expression I'll be writing? I want to scale the time by 1.5. What is the expression I'll be talking about then? Are you getting the point? So here I have my signal x of t. I can do two operations. One is called time-based operation, signal operation. Another one, I call it as amplitude-based signal operation. Okay, the same signal. Now in the time-based operation, I have two operations. Time shifting. Other one, time scaling. I'll be scaling it. Here also amplitude-based, I have two operations. Amplitude shifting. Other one, amplitude scaling. Now, when I say 1.5 times of x of t signal, what I am doing really? Out of this
Amplitude
four?
scaling.
No man. Amplitude scaling. Very good. This is amplitude scaling. Okay, when I do 1.5 times xt minus or plus 1, if I'm going to do this, what I'm doing?
Shifting amplitude.
Shifting the amplitude. You understand? So now when you are talking about some signal, initially the amplitude may be some 1 or something. When I put, this is x of t, when I put some 5 times of x of t, what I'm really doing is, the signal amplitude is now getting raised to 5. From 1, you look at only the amplitude axis for this operation, 5 times of x. But as soon as I say x of 5t within bracket, what do I really mean here? Can somebody help me out?
Time scaling.
It's called time scaling. So this operation is completely different from this operation. Okay, 5 times of xt is different from x of 5t. So you need to think about these 4. Okay, we need to solve some problems on this. Normally get some problems in the examination. Okay, so we'll solve some problems on time shifting, amplitude shifting, time scaling, and amplitude scaling. I'll be giving you some assignments also this weekend on time shifting and time scaling operation. But before that, I need to introduce you. Maybe I'll take another 5 minutes time to complete what is exactly meant by time shifting and time scaling operation. In fact, I told you now time amplitude shifting, amplitude scaling. I'll tell you what is time shifting, time scaling. Okay, then we will wind up today's class. I'll take 5 more minutes. I hope you don't mind. Yeah, here it is. Let me change the titles. Can I see the signal now clearly? X of t is like this. Okay. What is x of 2t? What's happening exactly? See, when you run the time fastly, okay, normally in a tape recorder, if you are going to run your signal, okay, you are listening to music, when you increase the number of rotations, okay, or otherwise in YouTube video you are watching, suddenly you want to increase the speed with which you want to see the video. What do? You press some 1.5 times or 2.5 times. You understand? So what do? You try to increase the speed. Yeah. So the same manner, when x of t signal is like this, if I'm going to do x of 2t, how the signal will look like? Can you imagine that? This value is 1. What will happen at time t equal to 0? So 2t
Signal be
the
0.
2t value, okay, this entire scale, okay, the time is in terms of units, 1, 2, like that. It is time t. I am now talking about a different scale, 2t. Okay, so in that case, whatever that has happened in 1, now it's going to happen at what time? Can somebody help me out?
2, sir.
2, sir.
That's where the problem. This is counterintuitive.
2.
Whatever you are saying is wrong. Counterintuitive. Why I'm saying it is counterintuitive is, by looking at this signal x of t, I'm saying that I'm going to run that time twice as faster than the original signal time t. In that case, whatever that has happened in 1 now has to happen in 0.5. And whatever that has happened in 2 has to happen in 1. And whatever has happened in -1 has to happen in -0.5. And whatever has happened in -2 is going to happen in -1. So the signal is going to have a look like this. So it is now compressed. That's why I'm saying it is compressed. So the signal is going to take a form like this. So it's going to get compressed like this. -1, 1. You understand? 2 minus 2 will become 1 minus 1. The same amplitude will be restored. No amplitude change will happen. In time shifting operation or time scaling operation, no amplitude shift. Okay, only in amplitude problem we have seen that shifting the amplitude and going up and down. Okay, scaling. Now the same manner, okay, this is called when a, so normally you have to write x of at. When a is greater than 0, normally we are performing something called a compression. compressing the signal. The same manner, okay, if I'm going to have a signal, okay, something like this, and if I do x of 2t, what do I get? We'll get the same signal, but it's going to end at 0.5. We understand? So 1 divided by 2 is what the signal is going to be. Okay? This signal is x of t. What will happen when you put x of 2t? It's going to be 1 by 2. It's going to be 2 by 2 is 1. This is 1 by 2, 1. 3 by 2 is going to be 1.5. Signal is going to be. Getting the point? So this is the kind of signal I'm talking about, 2t. So when a is greater than t, that is greater than 1, sorry, x of at you are doing compression. And between 0 to 1, I'm doing something called stretching operation. Stretching, how it looks like for this case, let us take this signal, x of t. So I want to run this, initially the time is t. Now I have reduced the time by 0.5, okay. So naturally the time is going to go a little slower. So the signal is going to get little stretched. Whatever it has happened in 1 now is going to happen at 2, and whatever it has happened in 2 is now going to happen at what? You understand? 4. Okay, it's going to happen at 4. So naturally the signal is going to it's going to happen like this. The signal is going to get stretched like. So here what I am performing, I am dividing. So when a is greater than 1, okay, I am dividing every component of t by that number, so that I will get a much more compressed waveform. But when a is less, between 0 to 1, a fraction when I'm going to have, see, always strictly a is always, okay, greater than, or it's always a positive number. Keep that in mind. The positive real number. Okay, positive real is a value, but it can be greater than 1 and between 0 to 1. There are two possibilities. If it is between 0 to 1, it is fraction, 0.2, 0.3, something I'm going to get. In that case, simply I have to take that time values, multiply with that particular fraction. Okay, understand? Not multiplication. Okay, divide by. Okay, so that will only you get that. Is it not? 1 by 2, for example. 1 by 2, 1 by 1 by 2. What do I get? I get 2. Here in this case, it's going to be 2 by 1 by 2. I'm going to get 4. So that's what is happening. You understand the idea clearly what I'm saying? When a is greater than 1, simply you need to multiply that number. Okay. Getting the point clearly. This is the one. Yeah. Divide by the number. And here, if it is going to be again, this is going to be between 0 to 1. Simply you take that number, okay, put that 1 by 1 by 2, you're going to get this 2 value and going to have all this. So it can be either stretching or compression is what is going to happen when you are doing time scaling. Can you imagine what will happen if I do time shifting? We already learned that. Where it is? This one. Time shifting. X of t minus 1, t plus 1. And what will happen if I do both these operations together? There is a signal, and I first shifting by time and then scaling. Okay, go through it. Okay, carefully. When I shift by time, I'm going to have this signal plus 1. Plus 1 means this side. Okay, therefore it is 1 will become minus 1. Okay, the signal becomes like this. 2 will come to this one. And then I'm scaling it by 3 by 2. This is the signal I'm looking for. If I scale this signal by 3 by 2, every number is divided by minus 1 divided by 3 by 2. I'm going to have 2 by minus 2 by 2. That's 7. And this number is going to be 1 by minus 3 by 2. It will be 2 by 2. That's 7. So I can comfortably do. Always going for a shift followed by scale. That will be quite convenient. You first shift the signal and then you scale it. X of t plus 1 and then 3 by 2 t plus 1. But if you do something called scaling first and then shifting, you should be a little more careful. Okay, you need to know that 3 by 2 t plus 1 is not equal to 3 by 2 t plus 1. This idea is very, very important. Normally, commit this error. So my suggestion is go for shift first, followed by scaling. Then thereby you avoid that kind of mistake. But when you are doing like this, scaling it first, for example, I'm scaling it 3 by 2t, and then I'm going to shift. When I'm doing it, what I am doing is, you have to remember that I am doing something like this. Okay, but what do I want? This is what I want. So naturally, I need to multiply by 2 by 3 in order to, this 1 has to be converted to 2 by 3 in order to get this. Okay, so that idea is quite important. Okay, so we'll see that easily. You can visualize it clearly in this case. So what I have done is t plus 2 by 3. I've taken it, and then that I am equating with this waveform. Then I get t equal to 0. Then what is okay, t equal to 0. I'm going to get 0. T plus 2 by 3. I'm going to get t equal to minus 2 by 3. Okay, this 2 by 3 is going to get shifted to minus 2. So that's the idea. Okay, so with this I will stop now. Okay, this 0 will come to this and 0 will move here. That's idea. Okay, now we'll see this. Next class again we'll take up some examples and see. So far, any doubts on this? Anywhere you find any difficulty? You want me to repeat again something? These are all some basics which you might have learned earlier, but anyway, I'm spending some time to think deeply and understand what's really happening. Okay, there are no doubts. I'll stop here.